Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Clean Machine Live. I'm Geoff Palmer, CEO and founder of Clean Machine. And before we get started, let's go ahead and jump right into the FDA disclaimer. This video is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But we are going to be talking about dietary help in preventing disease states. But before we get into the first study, so a lot of people come to me and on social media and say, "Hey, Geoff, what about these nutrients that you can't get from plants?" And I'm like, "That's actually a good thing." And they're like, "What? What about vitamin A? What about vitamin K2? What about choline and carnitine and all these other nutrients that aren't found in plants? What about heme iron?" I'm like, so over the years, I've one by one investigated the research, and every single time it shows it's actually better to get the plant precursor rather than get preformed states. Preformed means it's preformed, it's made, it's formed outside of the human body. That means another animal like us makes it in their body. And then when we eat that animal's body, we get it in an already made or preformed state of vitamin A or heme iron or carnitine or choline, things like this. Okay. Now, why is it worse? Well, it turns out it's a lot worse. But before I just kind of wholesale jump into you, let me explain the fundamental thing that's going on here. Our body is designed to consume plants, and it's designed in a way so that our microbiome actually works to support that change of plant nutrients into the forms that we need in our bodies through an enzymatic process in our body and in our guts. Now, there's a very specific reason for this because some of these preformed states, like heme iron, can oxidize very rapidly. That's why we produce cholesterol in our own bodies to prevent oxygen. Once you get cholesterol from a dietary source and you cook it, it oxidizes. Now you're consuming something oxidized cholesterol, which is known to contribute to atherosclerosis, the number one cause of death of humans on the planet. It's known to contribute to Alzheimer's disease and senile dementia. So when you get these already formed from an animal, just like we would do, they can be toxic to the human body. Vitamin A, for instance. I'm going to go by these one at a time to show you why when you consume an animal product that preforms or makes these into a different form, that they become toxic to the human body. So let's go ahead and start with DHA, because most people think, oh, you got to get your preformed DHA from fish or algae. We now know the opposite is the truth. Okay, so let's take a look at the first study. Okay, so first off, the only essential omega-3 is ALA, which is made by plants. Animals do not and cannot make ALA. It's impossible. Only plants do. All right, so this is the only essential omega-3 for human beings and all herbivores. All right. Carnivores don't require ALA. They can actually start with EPA, which is downstream. Okay, because they're getting it from animal sources, which pre-convert that ALA down into EPA and DHA, just like humans do. Okay, so this first study, 2022 study, so pretty recent study, plant-based omega-3s may boost heart health and reduce risk of heart disease. Okay, so no big deal. We know omega-3s do that, right? But this is plant-based omega-3s, meaning ALA, not EPA, not DHA. Okay, so what did they find in the study? They found in the study when people with low levels of omega-3 ate ALA, they saw a benefit in terms of cardiovascular health. Okay, again, nothing too surprising there. ALA converts to EPA and DHA and supported cardiovascular health. But here's the interesting thing as you follow the rest of the sentence on here. But when people with already high omega-3 levels from other sources than plants, ate more ALA from plants, they also saw a benefit. So even if you had high EPA and DHA levels from fish or algae or other sources, when you added ALA, you got benefits on top of that. So what they're really saying is most of the benefits are coming from ALA because ALA can convert down to EPA and DHA, but EPA and DHA cannot retroconvert back to ALA. That is impossible. It doesn't happen in the human body. So the only way you can get the benefits of ALA is to consume plants and to get them from plant sources because animals don't have them. They have EPA and DHA already down converted. Clear here. All right. So there's a lot of benefits that you simply cannot get. Cardiovascular benefit health that you cannot get unless you're consuming ALA. Okay, that should be enough. But then this study came along. Okay, this was a 2023 study, so even more recent. The effects of omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, omega-3s are called PUFAs, on cardiovascular outcomes in patients with diabetes. Now, this is a meta-analysis looking at randomized controlled trials, RCTs. These are considered the highest quality of trials. And a meta-analysis or reviews are looking at a whole bunch of studies. So not cherry picking a single study, which I often get accused of doing. No, I like meta-analysis because it's looking at all of the research basically and saying, what's the major outcome consistent across all of the studies? Okay, so what did they find? They found that EPA alone reduced the risk of cardiovascular disease. Now, ALA converts to EPA readily, very quickly, and very, very efficiently in the bloodstream. So there's no issues with ALA converting to EPA in the bloodstream. There never have been. Science has never negated that. The only thing they were concerned about is, wait a minute, ALA doesn't seem to convert to DHA, only about 1% in the bloodstream. Why so low? Okay, we'll get into the answer for that in just a second, but EPA alone significantly reduced risk of cardiovascular disease in patients with diabetes, whereas a combination of EPA and DHA was not significantly associated with a reduction in cardiovascular disease risk. So as soon as you added the DHA, you wiped out the benefits of the EPA. So this is telling us that our body does not want DHA in the bloodstream and will keep it removed and store it in tissues. So it's not in the bloodstream because it interferes with EPA's positive benefits on health. Okay, so this is probably why we're getting mixed results from fish oil studies. The higher the DHA, the more it's nullifying the health benefits of ALA, SDA, ETA, and EPA, the first metabolites. So let's dig a little bit further into that. So DHA, which you can only get preformed from either algae or animal sources. DHA is not found in any, preformed DHA is not found in any plant source. We consume plant source ALA, and then the body can store that ALA safely, does not interfere with health benefits for the cardiovascular health, store it in tissues, and only convert it when our body needs it, when and where our body needs it. DHA, on the other hand, you don't want in the bloodstream. As a matter of fact, if you do get a lot of it, it negates the health benefits of the other forms of omega-3. So let's look at what this study found. Number one, DHA increases LDL, the bad cholesterol. Number two, EPA decreases bad LDL cholesterol and increases the good one. So by adding DHA or taking preformed DHA from fish, from animal sources, eggs, dairy, meat, fish, you are actually interfering with the positive benefits of EPA. Okay, number three, there's five. EPA and statins, when combined together, improved endothelial function. As soon as you add DHA, wiped out the benefits of the endothelial function. EPA can protect against atherosclerosis by preventing oxidation of cholesterol, the number one cause of disease death in humans. DHA does not. As a matter of fact, it inhibits that function and could actually potentially reverse it. Now, the fifth one, and finally, and this is a quote directly from the study, EPA alone and not combined with DHA reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. As soon as you introduce that pre-formed from outside the body, from fish, from algae, once you dump that into the bloodstream, it negates the benefits, the health benefits of EPA. That's horrible. This is why we should not be consuming pre-formed states of nutrients. You're going to see this same theme throughout all of these ingredients that I'm going to be talking about, these nutrients. Okay, so really clear here from the DHA studies, we should not be introducing preformed. Now, remember, only preformed DHA can only come from animals or algae. It cannot be produced by any plants. Plants give us the precursor state so we can convert it in our body safely in tissues without it interfering in our bloodstream with our cardiovascular health. This is the proper pathway. Take in the plant nutrients in their precursor state, then allow the body to store it and convert it on an as-need basis, safely, effectively, only in the tissues and not in the bloodstream where it can negate health benefits. Okay, so let's move on to vitamin A. A lot of people say vitamin A is much more powerful than beta carotene. This is true, and that's a problem. Vitamin A is so strong, it can be toxic to the liver. As a matter of fact, it can do liver damage. So we can consume vitamin A in its precursor state from beta carotene and other carotenoids. Okay, but the problem is they said, oh, wait a minute, we looked in the intestinal tract and the microbiota in our intestinal tract was only converting about 10% of that beta carotene into vitamin A. So we must not be humans may not be able to convert beta carotene into vitamin A because only 10% is happening in the gut. Except that's not where it's happening. Vitamin A beta carotene is safely absorbed into the digestive tract and stored in the skin. This study shows that. Then in the skin, it acts as a natural barrier to sunlight. It's like an internal sunscreen. Vitamin A retinol does not do that. Beta carotene does. So the body is actually using that beta carotene to protect against sun damage. This is why your skin looks so good. If you consume a lot of dark greens and carrots and orange fruits and vegetables, you're getting good skin because your skin is protected more from the sun because it's loaded with beta carotene. As a matter of fact, if you drink carrot juice every day, like a quart of carrot juice, your skin will start to turn orange. And that's because the orange pigment in the beta carotene is actually showing up in the skin. So you'll see it first in your hands and feet because that's where most of it is stored. But this is where it does this. So then the body only converts beta carotene in the skin. This is what this study shows. Study is called Topical Beta Carotene is Converted to Retinol Esters, which is vitamin A retinol. In human skin, ex vivo, that means outside the body, they did it in human skin cells, and in mouse skin in vivo, that means in the living mice, poor mice. Okay, so let's look at what they found. They found that topical beta carotene penetrated well into human beings. So it's even absorbed into the skin if you put it on top of the skin, which is great. But this is how much the body actually pulls it into the skin, both when you eat it through the digestive tract, goes into the bloodstream, absorbed right in the skin, but you can even put it on top of the skin, it'll go into the skin. That's how much our skin loves beta carotene. The epidermis, the skin, and induced a 10-fold in humans increase in epidermal retinol esters, the vitamin A production. 10-fold. So if 10% is only being converted in the gut, that means it's immediately being available in the bloodstream. So just a little bit available, never in toxic amounts. So the body's only converting a little bit, so it never gets to toxic levels. When you eat like liver, which is really high in vitamin A, this can be toxic to our liver because that vitamin A then gets stored, and overstorage of it in the liver can cause liver damage and even death in extreme cases. So why would you want the toxic version if you only need a little bit? Our microbiome is doing as a service and only converting a little bit, then storing the rest of the beta carotene from plants. Animals don't make beta carotene, and plants do not make vitamin A, retinol A, the way it is converted into human beings. So then our skin then turns it tenfold. Well, if 10% is converted in it and 10 times as much is converted in the skin, what do you have? 100% utilization. So this is what the body is doing. The body is taking the precursor only coming from plants and converting it on an as-need basis and having a secondary benefit of helping out the skin, protecting it from sunlight damage. Beautiful win-win situation. Animal product vitamin A, toxic. Beta carotene stored in the skin, protects the skin from sun damage, converts only on an as-need basis, so you never get toxic amounts of vitamin A. Win-win, but only from plants. Okay. All right. And this, which demonstrates that topical beta carotene is converted into retinol esters by humans, and it appears to be a precursor of epidermal or skin vitamin A. So this is how you can have healthy skin by consuming lots of dark greens and orange fruits and vegetables. But this is a secondary study just to show you that it's not a one-off cherry-pick study, and because that was a single-year study. I don't want you to assume that that's just a cherry-pick study to try to prove my argument. Here's another one: conversion of beta-carotene to retinol pigment. This is conversion of beta-carotene to retinol vitamin A. Okay. They show the exact methods in our body of how these enzymes that cleave the beta carotene so that it can turn into retinol vitamin A. And this is a study in 2021 offering a new pathway for vitamin A production in other tissues other than the intestine. So it's clear there's multiple different enzyme pathways that the body can use to convert beta carotene into all the vitamin A that we need. So once again, when we were looking at studies early on and only measuring the conversion by our microbiome of beta carotene in the intestines, we made this false assumption that only 10% was being converted, and therefore beta carotene was a poor source of vitamin A. Now we know just the opposite is true. It's much better to get the precursor, and it provides all of the vitamin A if you're consuming sufficient amounts of beta carotene, which is rich in green vegetables and orange fruits and vegetables too as well. Okay. So let's jump into vitamin K2. They say, oh, vitamin K2 you can only get from animals. And this is not true. Animals don't make vitamin K2. It is impossible. Let's start there. Plants don't make it either. Only bacteria, microbes, make vitamin K2, just like vitamin B12. Animals don't make B12. Animals do not make K2. Our guts do. Our gut microbiota, the bacteria in our guts, make both B12 and vitamin K2. Now, I'm not going to get into the vitamin B12 thing here. We're just going to be talking about vitamin K2 because that's a whole nother story. Okay, so this study, vitamin K2 holds promise for Alzheimer's prevention and treatment. All right. Where do humans get their vitamin K from? So first you have to start with vitamin K1, and then our bacteria in our gut will convert it into vitamin K2, into the two most abundant forms, MK4 and MK7. Okay, so this is a quote directly from the study. Reinforcing the above findings, one study suggests the amount of vitamin K2 synthesized in the gut far exceeds human nutritional requirements, even if only a small fraction is absorbed. It goes on to say another argument for intestinal absorption of vitamin K2 is that the human liver contains large amounts of vitamin K2. of the MKs, MK4 and MK7, the two major forms of vitamin K2, which are not present in significant amounts in the diet, regardless if you're eating animal products or not. So all you're doing is feeding plants greens, most likely, like ruminant animals, like cows or sheep, right? They're getting the greens and they're getting all their vitamin K1. Vitamin K1's made by plants, right? So about 70% of all the vitamin K1 that humans eat comes from plants, even if you're an omnivore. All right. So all that vitamin K1 comes into our body, then our gut then converts it into vitamin K2. We know this because, one, it far exceeds the amount we actually need. And we can see that because some of the vitamin K2 comes out in our poop because our body doesn't even need it. We produce way more than we actually can use. Okay. So why would then people be suffering from vitamin K2 deficiencies? All right. So they did a study on humans, nurses, as a matter of fact, who had been treated with antibiotics. As soon as you take a general antibiotic, it can wipe out the bacteria in your gut. They found that up to 70% less vitamin K2 is produced when you wipe out the bacteria in your gut through antibiotics use. So humans who, for whatever reason, there's some good reasons to save people's lives, need to take antibiotics, you're wiping out the bacteria that produce your vitamin K2, and your K2 levels can drop significantly. But this doesn't have anything to do with the diet. The way to restore that is through fiber. Fiber is a prebiotic that feeds that bacteria that chews up that vitamin K1 and converts it to vitamin K2. So you need two things: fiber to feed the bacteria. The bacteria need to be there so that you're not drinking a lot of alcohol, smoking, or doing antibiotics. You're not wiping out the bacteria. And then three, you need to give them a vitamin K1 source, which is only plants. Dark green leafy vegetables are the highest in vitamin K1. So as long as you're giving it the vitamin K1 from plants, you're giving it the fiber from plants, and then allowing the bacteria to actually populate without interfering with antibiotics or alcohol, which can wipe out those bacteria, you should be good to go. You'll be producing more vitamin K2 than your body can even need. Okay, taurine. Big study on taurine that showed higher amounts of taurine led to higher levels. Now, this was an observational study, higher levels of longevity. It was an observational study. All right. And that over time, people who are in the older age groups had lower levels of taurine. All right. So our body makes our own taurine. There are carnivore animals that can't make taurine inside their body, so they must eat other animals to get their taurine, unless you're a cat owner and you put taurine in their food. But other than that, in nature, some carnivorous animals have to eat other animals in order to get their taurine. It's an essential amino acid. It is not an essential amino acid for humans or any other herbivore. Okay, so how do we make taurine? We make taurine from the amino acid methionine / cysteine, since they're interchangeable, and vitamin B6. Okay, so you want to make sure you're getting enough vitamin B6. All right. They found that you are B6 deficient, your taurine levels were sufficient. And if you weren't getting enough protein, your taurine levels could drop. But here's an interesting thing. Our body pools amino acids. Now, what happens when you exercise? Taurine levels skyrocket in the body. So is taurine related to actual longevity, or is exercise increasing the taurine, which then leads to longevity? So it's the exercise that may be actually causing the longevity. As you see in sedentary people, their taurine levels drop because they're not exercising. And as you see it in older people who are more sedentary, their taurine levels drop because they're not exercising. When you create exercise in people, the taurine levels shoot up. We know this. So it's not the diet that's mostly responsible, as long as you're getting sufficient protein, which contains taurine, essential amino acids. And look, all plants contain, no plant contains taurine, but our body can make its own taurine from the other essential amino acids. So no need to get it from our diet. Okay, let's talk carnitine. This is where it gets interesting because our body can make carnitine out of lysine. And this study right here shows that the lysine to carnitine conversion in normal and undernourished adult men suggestion of a non-peptidal pathway. So they're actually looking at the pathways in which lysine converts to carnitine. And what did they find in the study? They found a rapid in vivo, that means in living human beings, a rapid conversion of orally administered lysine into carnitine in humans. So we don't need to consume carnitine in its pre-formed state, formed outside the body, like it's found in meat and eggs and other animal products. We do not need that. We can make our own from lysine. It's rapidly converted from our food of lysine into carnitine in humans. Okay, so that's not an issue, but is getting carnitine okay then to get from animal products? And it's a resounding no. Okay. What happens when you put preformed carnitine and or choline, right? Preformed, that means made in the animal. What happens when that gets into our digestive tract? Let's take a look at that. So intestinal microbiota, that's our microbiome, metabolize them, chewing up L-carnitine, a nutrient in red meat, promotes atherosclerosis, the #1 cause of death in human beings. All right, let's take a look at this. So choline and carnitine are not made by plants. You can only get them from animal foods. I take that back. You can get some choline from plant foods like soy, but it's a small amount. And I'm going to get into why it doesn't impact vegans the same way it impacts meat eaters or those consuming any animal products. All right, let's dive into that. So they took this study into 2 different groups. And this is a quote. Sorry for leaving out the quotation marks on it, but this is an exact quote from the study. So this actually looked at omnivores, those eating animal products, and vegans/vegetarians. Omnivorous subjects are shown to produce significantly more TMAO than vegans and vegetarians following ingestion of L-carnitine through a microbiota dependent mechanism. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. You can take, I'm going to hide this. I'm going to actually bring up the picture of why TMAO is an issue. So when you consume carnitine and choline from animal products, it goes into our microbiota, and our microbiome then changes it to TMA, which then gets oxidized and converted into a substance called TMAO. I want you to look that up because it's a really powerful initiator of diseases, especially cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, and dementia. I'm going to show you why in just a second. Let me go ahead and pull up the image. This is TMAO. So you can see the picture on the left there. That's cheese, eggs, meat, fish. Fish has pre-converted TMAO. Meat, eggs, and dairy all have the precursor carnitine and choline in them. Eggs are really high in choline. So this goes into our gut, gets converted into TMA, and then goes to our liver, gets converted to TMAO. Now it goes into our bloodstream, and this TMAO forces cholesterol into our arteries, the endothelial cells of our things, and then blocks cholesterol from getting out of our endothelial lining. This is the definition of atherosclerosis. So it's not just the cholesterol that's found in meat, found in eggs, found in fish, found in dairy. It's the TMAO that is pushing that into our cardiovascular system. And I can show you another image of how exactly it's doing that. So you can see fish has pre-converted TMAO in it. So when you consume it, it can go right into the bloodstream. And you see up in the upper right-hand form, TMAO in our blood vessel. That's a dissect image of our blood vessels. And you see the up arrow? That's forward cholesterol transport. That means it's pushing cholesterol into the endothelial lining. And you see the down arrow. TMAO is blocking cholesterol export, which means that cholesterol then can't get out of the endothelial function. It's packing our arteries full of cholesterol. This is what TMAO is doing, resulting in heart attacks, stroke, death, and even forcing our blood vessels to form new blood vessels because they're blocked. This is revascularization. This is the multi-pathway of how the cholesterol gets from our food and then jammed into our endothelial cells, which is our vascular lining, and causes cardiovascular disease, coronary heart disease, causes our brain dysfunction, like Alzheimer's disease, dementia. All the blood vessels in our brain get clogged. This is erectile dysfunction as the blood vessels in our genitals get clogged. All these clogging, this packing of cholesterol into our arteries is by TMAO. And now some people say, well, wait a minute, Geoff, but there's choline in like soy, right? Phosphatidylcholine. Why doesn't that cause TMAO in vegans? Because when you become vegan, you're only eating plants, and it changes the microbiome. When you feed all that fiber and all that plant, all the polyphenols, all these antioxidants, the diversity of our microbiome changes, and it can change within 24 hours. They've shown TMAO levels drop by 50% by taking someone on a meat-based diet and putting them on a plant-based diet. TMAO levels dropping in half in 1 week. 1 week. Let me show you the results of the study, because this is frightening. This is when given supplemental carnitine and supplemental choline, which are found in meat, fish, eggs, dairy, cheese, all have these in it. When you feed that to an omnivore, their TMAO levels skyrocket. The exact same amount fed to vegans. See the bottom line there with the vegans? Almost no change in TMAO production. Because of the plants we're eating, because we're eating exclusively plants, our microbiome changes and we produce bacteria that destroy the TMAO before it can get into our bloodstream. It eats up TMA, even if we are feeding the vegan carnitine through supplementation or choline through supplementation to artificially induce that without them eating animal products. This is really, really clear evidence that our body does not want these nutrients in their preformed state. No preformed A, no preformed DHA, which only come from animals, no preformed carnitine, no preformed choline. We don't want this. And we want a microbiome that helps protect us from these damaging molecules that get into our bloodstream and pack our blood vessels full of cholesterol, causing atherosclerosis. 50% of Americans will die this year from atherosclerotic-related diseases. Half of the deaths in America will be caused by what you're seeing right here on the screen right now. It's amazing that we're looking at all these nutrients, say, oh, heme iron, it absorbs better. Well, that's a problem. Heme iron absorbs so fast, it gets into our bloodstream so fast because our body thinks, oh, heme iron, that belongs in my body because I should have made that. Because it doesn't belong in our digestive tract. All animal flesh, fish, rabbits, beef, chicken, cow, pig, no matter what the animal, if you eat it, it has heme iron in it. Heme iron gets into the body because the body thinks it should be in the bloodstream and not in our digestive tract because it thinks it made it. It pulls that in so fast that our liver says, oh my God, all that free iron in our bloodstream is starting to oxidize. When it oxidizes, it damages tissues. So our liver produces this molecule called hepcidin, which then blocks any more absorption of heme iron from our digestive tract. Well, that would be great. It's protecting us from a bunch of rusty iron circulating our bloodstream. That's great. Our body's trying to protect us from more damage caused by the heme iron that we just consumed by eating animal products. But what happens then is even worse. That heme iron can't go anywhere, can't be absorbed into the bloodstream. So it starts to build up and accumulate all the way down into the colon. By the time it gets to the colon, you have a massive amount of heme iron built up by more and more food coming in with heme iron, and the body's already blocked that heme iron from getting in the bloodstream. Up to 48 hours, it'll block that heme iron. And now you've got a whole bunch of heme iron oxidizing, damaging cells, and causing colorectal cancer. We know this. We know the exact mechanisms how heme iron causes and initiates and exacerbates colon cancer. The number 2 cause of dietary cancer deaths in the United States. Number 2 cancer killer, and it's in the food we eat. Really clear. Plant-based iron is bound to this thing called phytate. Phytate is an anti-cancer agent, and it holds that iron to prevent it from oxidizing. Phytate, or IP6, is an antioxidant. Now that iron can pass safely through our entire intestinal tract without ever oxidizing, without ever stimulating cancer, without ever damaging our cells and causing leaky gut or irritable bowel syndrome. This is how the body works. It wants that plant iron. When the body needs it, it breaks off that phytic acid. And phytic acid is the only chemical we know in nature that can block and prevent cancer cells from happening. It can actually stop the cancer cell from growing. It can then kill the cancer cell. And number 4, and the most amazing, IP6 can go into cancer cells and turn off the oncogene and turn that cancer cell back into a healthy, normal functioning cell. This is what plants are offering us: anti-cancer agents, protecting the iron from oxidizing. When you eat animal products, that heme iron is preformed. It's free iron. It has nothing to protect it from oxidizing. What happens when you get metal wet? It oxidizes, it rusts. That's what's happening to the iron inside our gut: oxidation. That's what's causing cancer. It's what's causing damage to our gut, inflammation to our gut. It's so wonderful what the plants are doing for us. It's so clear based on our physiology that our body does not want preformed vitamin A from animals. It wants beta carotene precursors, safe, non-toxic, skin protective. We don't want DHA, which increases LDL cholesterol, exacerbates atherosclerosis. We don't want that in our bloodstream. And here we are eating fish, here we are eating animal products, and even taking algae DHA supplements and dumping that DHA right into our bloodstream when our body tries not to put it there. It tries to keep it out there because it inhibits the health benefits of the plant precursor ALA, the plant precursor SDA and ETA and EPA. These protect our cardiovascular system. You dump that DHA in there by eating animals, by eating fish, or by eating or taking algae supplements, and you just wipe out the benefits of the plants. It's all there. It's in every nutrient. Every time I look at a nutrient and do the deep dive into the science, it tells the same story. Our body wants precursor nutrients, and then it allows it to convert those nutrients safely and effectively only when it needs it, only where it needs it for each individual. If you're female, you're going to need more DHA because you're preparing it more for the possibility of raising a kid. If you're older, you're going to need more skin protection. Your body's going to actually store more beta carotene. All these things are regulated. If you have a disease state, if whatever your age is, how much body fat you're carrying, the level of exercise that you're doing, your gender, your ethnicity even has a play in how your body utilizes and metabolizes. We have internal endogenous systems that regulate every single batch of this if we give it the precursor and let our body change it only to the forms it needs in the tissues that need it, where it needs it, and when it needs it, and in the quantity it needs it. It's a beautiful system if we work with it, and the plants do the precursor feeding. Animals then convert it into forms that they want, but when you eat the animal, you're getting pre-formed already. And this is not what we should be putting in our digestive tract. It is clear across the board. Every single nutrient that people say, oh, an animal is better at, no, just the opposite. It's worse. It's worse to get DHA. It's worse to get heme iron. It's worse to consume carnitine in its preformed state. It's worse to consume choline in its preformed state. They cause these diseases, and we have the science. I'm going to keep sharing it. I'm going to keep talking about it until this message gets out. And not because I'm sort of trying to make a diet right or wrong. We need to get past this thing that, oh, that's vegan, or you're a vegan, or pushing the vegan stuff. No, I'm pushing health. I'm pushing science. I want people to understand their own physiology so you can put in what works best for your physiology. I want you to be healthy. I don't care if it's vegan or not. I want you to choose the ones based on what the science, based on what our physiology is doing, to give you the best chance to live healthy and long. That's what I want for you. It's not about some dogma, or if we've turned veganism into a freaking religion. Stop already. It's about health. It's about nutrition, and it's about our physiology and how our body is designed. That's what's important. Your health is important to me, not whether you choose a plant-based burger or a meat burger. It doesn't. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what those choices do to your body based on the real research. It's taken a while from the research. We've had a lot of wrong assumptions based on the assumption that meat is higher in these nutrients, therefore it was better. We now know that higher heme iron is worse, a lot worse, can actually cause the #2 cancer killer of human beings. We now know that this preformed carnitine and preformed DHA are a lot worse, leading to disease states. These are not good to get them into our body in preformed states. They are much better to get them into our body in the way that the plants have designed them. That's how all herbivores succeed in life. That's what I want for you. Please share this information. I love sharing this information, but it only helps people. That's my real dream, is to help people. Look, I turned 61 a couple of weeks back, and it was a realization that neither of my brothers, nor my father, nor my mother made it to the age I'm at now. Look, I am thriving at 61. I'm in the best health of my life. I'm looking forward to the next 40 years. And no one, neither my brothers, nor my mother, nor my father even got this far. I don't want you to suffer like I did. I don't want you to suffer with those losses. I don't want you to suffer through the pain of these diseases. I've watched that. I've been through that already with everyone in my family practically. I want something better for you because of what I've experienced. That's why I created Clean Machine, to try to bring out some products that would really help you in your journey towards health and fitness. Please share. It's the only way I can get this information out there. We're a small company, but I'm passionate about what you do. And I really do this sincerely to try to help other people improve their health. Thank you for watching. Please give it a thumbs up. Please comment. Let me know if there's any other topics that you're hearing about from people that say, what about? I'll love to cover them, because I really want to break through these attitudes that people have turned diet into us against them. Stop. Let's don't do that. It's not about us or them or right or wrong. It's about what our body happens to our body. You know, people saying, oh, I'm healthy and I eat meat. It's like, no, you're not. The science shows that you're not. You have atherosclerosis and you just don't know it. And I'm not saying that to make you wrong. I'm saying that so that you can change it. This is an empowering situation. This is an opportunity to change what you're doing and have a different outcome. then heart attack, strokes, diabetes, heart disease, all of these things, many of them can be preventable or reversible with a proper whole food plant-based diet. That's all there is to it. It's the plants. I just wanted to show you what the science, what the physiology is showing so that you can benefit from it. I do this for your benefit, not mine. I care too much sometimes, but thank you for watching. I've got an amazing new breakthrough study that on omega-3 nutrition, talking about omega-11. And that's something that you don't hear about in the press. I'll be covering the research, some of the findings. It's pretty cool. I'll always try to give you the studies, the links, and simplify the language so that you understand what basically the study is talking about. I've been reading studies for almost 40 years now. So I'm familiar with the language, but I also like interpreting them and making them layperson friendly so that people can understand what the research is really saying. I try to always look for meta-analysis and reviews because those are the highest quality, looking at multiple studies. So it shows that I'm not cherry picking. I'm not just picking out a bias study that suits my narrative. I want people to have the best information. And if the best information is counter to what I believe, I want the best information. But I always dig into that information to make sure there's not other research out there that's counter to that and will expose all of the research and all of the data to show the benefits and why plants are doing us such an amazing favor. Thanks again for watching. I love this part of the interview because it paints such a clear picture of why human beings are designed and why our physiology, it benefits so much from the plants we eat. Thanks for joining me. We'll be back again next week. Same